Hi everyone, it's been a while and welcome back to my channel. This is another video of James Makes Clothes, and in today's video we are going to draft a jacket block from the WInifred Aldrich metric pattern cutting for menswear. I'm doing a menswear block for myself and for anyone else who wants to design a jean jacket, a bomber jacket, something that's about at the waist. I'm gonna do like a Western style jean jacket. That's gonna be my design. And first I need a block. This block from this book, it's the easy fitting casual jacket block there. And then we're gonna do the two-piece sleeve here. Now for sizing, I've gone ahead and I've actually used the standard size chart in the front of the book. Reason being is that I'm only one person. I don't have a friend to measure my body for me, and so if you are a solo person, just use the standard chart. If you're not sure what size you are, just measure your waist and your bust and you'll be able to match it with one of the columns here. Because I'm 6'3", I'm using this adjustment graph here that's going to tell me where to lengthen the block. So once we've established our sizes, we go into the block here and it tells us what size we'll need. So for this jacket block, we're gonna do our chest, our side depth, which is our arm depth, armhole depth, I should say, natural waist length, neck size, half back, jacket length. So jacket length is whatever we want it to be. For this block, they're talking about a suit jacket. So the length of this jacket is actually to the hip. I recommend doing that in case you want to create a longer sort of hip length jacket out of it, because we can shorten it very easily on our design. Once we've established our sizing, measurements, and the block we're going to do and the sleeve we're going to do, we're ready to do our block. I've gone ahead and already done this, so I'm going to show you what the finished block looks like, which is very exciting. This is our sleeve. This is our finished drafted sleeve block, and you can see I've outlined the undersleeve. It's on one piece, but I've traced off the undersleeve for sewing. This is our front pattern piece finished, and it's clearly labeled. Well, every time we make adjustments to our block, we have to create a new prototype from that block. So it can get a little time consuming and we end up using quite a bit of fabric. You can go ahead and buy a roll of muslin fabric. I got mine mailed to me from Toronto. It was $75 for a roll. I burned through it quite fast. It felt a little wasteful. So what I've done instead is I've gone to the thrift store and I bought a set of curtains. This set of curtains, it's a little heavy, so it's perfect for the weight of the jacket that I want to use. I do recommend using a type of fabric for your block that's going to match your final product, just so you can see how it's going to drape on your body when you try the block on. We're going to get there, don't you worry. These set of curtains cost me $4. This hopefully will be enough fabric. I think it will. I only do one sleeve just to conserve fabric. We don't need to do two sleeves when we're doing our block. That's totally optional. So we've got our book, we know our measurements, we got our pattern paper. Another thing you're gonna need for pattern drafting is an awl or something pointy like this so we can true our seams. Mechanical pencil, get your mechanical pencil out. It creates a finer line for more accuracy. We are doing metric pattern measurements, so nice thing about metric is it's down to the millimeter. You get way more accuracy in your draft. You need a black felt for marking. You need a metric ruler, tape measure, so this is inches and metric. You need a right angle square, so this is what I use for a square. You want your angles on your pattern to be completely 90 degrees. You do not want wonky lines. It will affect your draft. I also use a French curve. You can draw your curves freehand and go over them with a curve if you're confident in drawing curves. I do some freehand drawing of my armholes, but I do go over it with my curve just to make sure it's a nice smooth line. Also, I love my pattern notchers. These things I use all the time. I love having a nice little proper notch on my pattern. These notches are for not only truing your seams on your paper pattern, but they're also for sewing your garment together so that you do not have to pin everything. I try and stay away from using pins as much as possible. They bother me, they poke me. Make sure you have a lot of tape on hand. And that's about it. So we are going to start on our draft. Make sure you look for the download of this And then you can follow along that way, and let's get started. Okay, so I picked my size guide. It's the standard bodice measurement, size 40. Then we're gonna go to our block and check out which sizes we need. And then we're gonna start with the first section here. It's 0 to 1. Draw in a nice square line. I'm using my tape measure because I don't have a long meter stick. This is my square, and this is how I do the right angled lines. And then just go through each step. I'm working on the shoulder seam now. And then I go through and measure my neckline, draw in my neck curve, and this is for the center back. Now we're going to move on to the shoulder seam and the armhole. And I'm just following the directions here as I go. It's almost like a step-by-step process. And all you need is those 6 measurements in the front. So you can see there's my back pattern almost done. And sometimes you got to do a little bit of calculations there. Now we're working on our armhole. And then this is the side seam. And then we've got the waistline. Make sure all your lines are nice and squared and measured perfectly. That's why I like metric pattern cutting, because it's to the millimeter. So we're working on the front panel piece now. I use multiple rulers. Some of them are metric, some of them have inches on them. Now we're working on the outer edge there, and I just drew my front neck curve. Now I'm working on the front armhole or sigh. Now I just take my curve, fill in the armhole line. Now you can draw this freehand as well if you don't have a curve, but it's good to have a curve when you're designing patterns, so that you can check your freehand curve as well. I like to make sure the lines are nice and sharp. That's why I use a mechanical pencil. But I adjust the curve as necessary, freehand. You can see I'm going over it now. And the reason why, and I like having both pattern pieces facing each other like this with the armhole, and that way it makes the armhole easier to measure. I write the armhole measurements down. I also draw in my seam allowance so that it's easier to measure along the fitting line. Now I'm measuring the outside of the armhole. This pattern comes with its own seam allowance. Some books don't have seam allowance included. So once you're done, you can cut out your pattern and make sure you clearly label it. I've dated it just so I know which year I've created this block in case my body changes. Be very detailed if you want. And now we're going to add our seam allowance to our side seam. I've cut the pattern pieces front and back in half, and then I've added my 1 centimeter seam allowance on the side. We're ready to cut that out, and then we can move on to our 2-piece sleeve after that's cut out. For the 2-piece sleeve, you just need the sleeve length and the cuff size. You have all the other measurements from before, and they tell you to go through that. So this is a step-by-step process. You can see this is my shoulder curve now. And then the rest of the pattern, I just fill in following the directions. It's pretty straightforward. I did want to show you how to draw on this arm curve. Now I'm just finishing the rest of the pattern. Once that's done, you can cut those pieces out, trace them. Okay, we're going to start sewing our muslin together. When you're sewing your prototype, use a very wide stitch because you're going to want a seam rip. If you like the way your body fits, then you can easily just rip the sleeve off. So if you use a really wide stitch, it's a way easier to take that seam apart. I don't think it's long enough. When you're putting in a sleeve, if you have the option to keep your needle in, I highly suggest you do that, because then you can ease the fabric in better. Okay, we're trying it on. I think it's pretty good. I like the way it feels. So there's no overlap, so it should just join together like that. Look at that. Oh, I don't like that. So we're gonna add some width in through here. Okay. So if you look on this side, the armhole, perfect, right? It fits really nice in through here. But you can see under here it's pulling, so we need to adjust our sleeve. I'm just gonna use a green marker here. Just lightly. I'm kind of feeling on my shoulder. I should be looking in a mirror, but I can do this by feel. So you can see. So I'm gonna take that off my pattern. And you can see right in here, this pulling, we're gonna add some width to our sleeve and through here. We're gonna slash and spread. We're gonna try that first because that won't affect our armhole measurement and our sleeve. So we're gonna widen our sleeve here so that it gives us more ease when we lift our arm. I'm gonna slash and spread the top sleeve of my pattern, and hopefully that gives some more ease in here. Maybe we'll do it just a couple of centimeters at first. We don't want to mess it up too much. I mean, a suit jacket is supposed to sort of do this a little bit, but it's very uncomfortable across the top of my arm here. So we're gonna slash and spread a little bit in this middle part, and hopefully that should help. Okay, so that's our muslin with our markings right here. So I'm gonna transfer this measurement onto this pattern. So it was this whole edge that we want to take back. The thing is, when you remove the top of your sleeve head, you have to re-true your seam. So what we'll do is we'll remove this part first. We'll remeasure our sleeve and our sleeve hole. This is our elbow line here, so we're gonna work in this area because I liked the way this fit. So this is the width that we're adding. We're adding it right in here across this line. So when I slash these two sections, so it was this section and the front, so we're gonna put a line here and then a line in the front, and that's where we're gonna add our, I like the undersleeve, so I'm not gonna mess too much with that. That's our notch for our shoulder seam, so we're gonna measure to one side. So let's just do 5.5 centimeters. One and a half centimeters. Smooth it out like that. That's our new shoulder curve. There, that's cute. That's how I want it to look. Let's do it. Bye-bye, hideous sleeve. 30 centimeters, 32.6. So we're remeasuring, and then if that's not 62.6 centimeters, we're going to widen their sleeve. Then we're going to remeasure it, and then when it's 62.6 centimeters, then we're going to add our other slit. Okay. So it's 2 millimeters off. We want our line here, right in the middle of the shoulder. That's where the issue was the biggest. That's our slash line, and then we want to add another slash line right here, right around that dotted line. That's a measurement, that's a fit line. So if we slash and spread along these major points, then it will be balanced really nicely. What we're doing is we're adding fabric in the middle of this sleeve, and we do not want to add any more than 3 millimeters to this line, and we don't want to mess around with, so I'm going to slash along this line, so I'm going to slash it across this shoulder line here. I do not go farther than where my 1 centimeter seam allowance would be. I'm going to slash it here. We're just going to this elbow line, so 1 centimeter away from that elbow line just to be safe, because what I have to do is I have to cut in and create a pivot point on these edges. I got my scrap paper. Got to put it underneath. I'm just cutting about 1 millimeter to that edge that I did. We'll just cut this whole thing off right now. We'll just tape it back on after. How does that sound? I'm just gonna, I don't want to cut right here on my corner. I'm just gonna kind of go below it and we just need it to do this. See? What needs to happen is it needs to do this, and we need to make sure we're not doing this, because I don't want the giant saggy elbow. So we're just going to tape one side down. All right. So I'm just going to draw a line from one of the quadrants, just at the bottom, because then that's where I tape my other one. Tape that sucker down. So I've added 1 centimeter across the bicep, so it creates a little diamond shape. So notice what we've got going on here. No biggie, because what we're gonna do when we join our piece, just gonna go like that, stick it on over top. Look what's gonna happen. So we've added some extra in this area. Lengths are still exactly the same, so our pattern will sew nicely together still. That's our first slash done. Now, our second one was here. Let's go to town. So we're gonna do our cut there, and we're gonna do it across here. So let's do that. We got our 4 quadrants. One first, tape one down. Draw your centimeter so that I can line up my pattern piece to it. I think it'll work. Okay, let's tape this baby on. Done. Done. Yeah, so that's a perfect match. Okay, let's cut it out and sew it back on, and then we'll try our jacket on again. When I initially did the sleeve on my pattern, now I have the updated version, and prior to that, this sleeve cap was really pointy, but you can see it has a nice smooth transition, and there's room for padding right in here. That's why it extends a little bit, to give it a nice crispness. Also, what was happening was this was pulling across the bicep when I lifted my arm up, so it's actually quite a bit more comfortable. This pattern is a suit jacket, so it does feel a lot more comfortable than this previous sleeve did, updated sleeve. So I am happy with this block. This block is done for now. With the 2-piece sleeve, you can see how I can bend my arm, and the sleeve doesn't ride up right in here. So it's very comfortable to wear this. So now that we have a block, we can explore different design ideas. The design I'm gonna do with this block is a jean jacket. So watch for that next video. We're gonna draft a jean jacket in that one. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys soon.